Hello, this is Don Wiggins, the president of WDFL 18. Download that app today. We're on the Paradise Television Network, and I'm so blessed today to have a legend, my homegirl from the Midwest, Miss Jayne Kennedy. Jayne.
Homegirl from the Midwest.
Homegirl from the Midwest.
Thank you.
Jayne, you are a legend. And you know something? You changed the culture in broadcasting.
Yes.
With one of the first women in NFL football that happened to be of color.
Yes, in broadcasting.
In broadcasting.
Yes.
You know, we didn't have women in broadcasting, and men used to rush home to watch the NFL game because of you.
I've heard that. I've heard many people say that.
Did you realize you were changing a culture?
No, I did not. Not at the time, not at all. I just thought I was doing my job, and a job that I absolutely loved all the time. And there were so many times when people would say, Jayne, didn't you know, my father used to make all of his girls sit down in front of the television set every Sunday to watch you. And he would say, you see that girl? You see that black girl on television?
Yeah.
She's there because nobody thought she would. And she's there. That means whatever you choose to do in life, you can be like Jayne Kennedy. You can do whatever you want to do. Those are lessons that I learned later. I never knew that. I never knew that. I've had so many people tell me along the way, you're my father, my brother, my grandma, my uncle. Someone told me about Jayne Kennedy and the importance that you had to African American people here in the United States. And I didn't recognize any of that until decades later.
Wow. And you know, there were a lot of people making documentaries about blacks in the Hollywood, in the entertainment industry. Black exploitation movies were coming out, and you were in those. When
Yes.
the documentaries were coming out, a lot of times you were left out. Why do you think so?
Well, you're talking about two different time frames here.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, we were left out because there weren't any opportunities. And there were so many times that we would be struggling just to find Vanetta McGee,
Right.
and all
Pam
these
Grier.
Pam Grier, and all these people, talented people that didn't have opportunities. And oftentimes, when you got one, it would be 3, 4, 5 years before you got another chance.
Wow.
And now you come fast forward to people. I think it was a year ago. I was watching an awards show, and the actress said, "You know what? I'm going to make sure that from now on, for the rest of the year, all of my projects are going to have black women behind the scenes." You know what I heard?
What?
Projects with an S on it.
Whoa.
With an S on it. That she has projects in 1 year. And I said, God, thank you.
That's more than one.
That's more than one, because we were lucky to get one in 3, 4, 5 years. But I was blessed to be able to consistently work from 2 months into my landing in Los Angeles.
When did you realize you had made it in Hollywood? Look at those eyes light up. When did you realize you had made it, Jayne?
Oh, there's so many moments. I mean, I can tell you that when I first landed in Hollywood, it had only been 2 weeks, and I went to the show to see The Fifth Dimension, and I was backstage. And I remember just the year before, I was in high school, and we were singing, their high school choir was singing The Age of Aquarius, and now I'm
Yes.
seeing them in Hollywood, doing it on the Hollywood Bowl stage. So that's a moment. Bob Hope taking me around the country on the Bob Hope USA tour. I was only 3 months in LA.
With the soldiers.
And he told me, he said, do you dance? And I said, yeah. He said, would you like to be on my show? A nice stupid me. I said, well, I already tried out last week and they turned me down. He said, let me put it this way. I want you to be on my Bases Around the World Christmas tour. 2 weeks later, I was off to Vietnam during the time of the Vietnam War. And I remembered how hard I had prayed every night that my friends and my family would never have to go to Vietnam.
Yes.
And here I was there.
Yes.
And I'm seeing all of these soldiers in the bowl, and they're sometimes in mud up to their waist, waiting for our helicopters to land, because they had North Vietnam had threatened to drop bombs on the
That's
base
right.
if we were to perform.
That's right.
And so we had to hover in helicopters And we would go down, land on the show, one group would jump out, land on the stage, one group would jump out, they'd take off. They perform, land again, another show. That's the way we did the show.
You know, we have a veterans network on WDFL here.
Okay.
And you know something? A lot of veterans didn't make it home.
Many didn't make it home.
Many didn't make it home, Jayne. Jayne, let me ask you this. When you were working for the NFL on that network, I'm not going to even mention the network.
CBS.
What did you do and how did you know that they fired you? What did you do?
That
You
hurt.
got fired.
That hurt.
Jayne, you got fired.
I'd been there 2 years, 2.5 years. And the last show I did with them was the Super Bowl, 1980, in Los Angeles. And they had told me my assignment would be, I had performed my assignment for 2 weeks, getting materials ready, and now I'm in this helicopter hovering above the Rose Bowl Stadium. And the helicopter's diving down. And during the segment, they kept saying, you know, as I'm introducing my segment, which I thought it was going to be my segment, I'm hearing in my headset, throw it to Phyllis George in the gingerbread. And I'm going, what is she, you know, she's not on the show. Why are we throwing it to the gingerbread in Beverly Hills? We're in Pasadena for the Rose Bowl.
Really?
And they did it twice. I got off the plane, I got off the helicopter, and I was so angry. And oh my gosh, what's my co-host? Jimmy the Greek,
Brett Musburger.
and
Irv Cross.
Irv Cross. I can't believe it. My, 70.
It's called senior moment.
It's senior moment.
I know I have
Y'all
it
just
too.
witnessed a serious senior moment. Irv Cross is there, and he grabs me, and he says, "It's already done, Jayne." And I said, "What's already done?" I was so angry. He said, "What's already done?" He said, "It's already done, Jayne. There's nothing you can do." And I went to the halftime show, still not knowing what had happened. I worked for CBS for another 4 months. Wow. They had me booked to go to Korea to do the Miss USA Universe pageant. And we're going to do Miss Universe to be crowned, right? And I'm getting ready to get on the airplane. And as I'm leaving my house, messenger service pulls up. You've been fired.
Wow.
You've been fired.
That's how you found out?
That's how I found out. And I still had to get on the plane because I didn't know who to call. This was nobody had cell phones. Wow. No offices were open yet. It was very early in the morning. And so I had to get on the plane, fly all the way to South Korea. And I'm on stage, and the cue card guy says to me, "Jayne, I've been working all night rewriting cue cards because they said to reduce your piece in the show." I had no idea why. And when I called back, I found out that they said it was because I had breached a contract to work with another network. And I said, "Well, that's not right. That's not true." And I showed them I had a written agreement signed by the president of CBS Sports that I could do the other show at NBC. And so I presented them the letter that he had signed, and they hired me back. So 2 weeks later, they fired me again. And they said because it was too challenging for me to work 2 jobs, because I would be working the NBC job on Friday night, get on the plane to fly to New York to do the NFL Today, which I'd done for 2 years.
Well, Brett
every
Musburger
week.
was doing the same thing.
Tell me about it. So I said, I filed another letter to them, and I said, why is it that Brent Musburger can work 5 nights a week in LA, and I can only work 1 night a week in LA? Is because a man is better than a woman? They hired me back. So then another 3 weeks go by, and then the termination letter was so innocuous that there was nothing to fight, and I had lost my job.
You know how to come back. I think we all have lost our job. People viewing this program have lost a job. How do you come back from losing a job that you love, that you were made for, that you spent most of your life doing, and you have a passion for? How do you come back from that?
Well, it was really hard for me because I never really knew why I was fired. If you know why, you kind of can come to terms with that. But I never knew until years later that it was because they wanted Phyllis George back on the set.
Racism? Sexism?
I don't know for sure about that, but I know that they wanted Phyllis more than anything because Phyllis had the power that I didn't have. She was now married to the governor of Kentucky. And what I saw in my mind, and I'll never know if it's true, I knew that the rights for the Kentucky Derby were up. And that Phyllis was being married to the governor of Kentucky, they had a better chance with her on the desk than me.
That's called political.
That's what I think. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I saw.
They made a big mistake.
And then years and years later, I got an invite to be on the Super Bowl pregame special, maybe 2 years later, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And at this point in time, Brent and I are the only surviving members of that show. And so they had Brent and I on the desk, and we're doing the show of reminiscing. And I said, I'm going to have to tell my truth because you guys, I felt like I was disgraced by CBS, and I had done nothing wrong. And I said, so if I'm going to be on the show, I'm going to tell my truth. And they said, fine. I figured, well, they're going to edit it out anyway, so I just spoke my truth. And when it came on, they told the full story. And then they told a clip, they showed me a clip of on an iPad, and they said, did you ever see this? And it was Tommy Henderson sitting on the desk with Brent Musburger. And it was the fall after I'd been fired. And Thomas was talking to Brent Musburger, and when they finished their dialogue, he said, we miss our queen, Jayne Kennedy. We miss our queen.
Wow. Wow. That was awesome coming from him.
And they asked me, how did that make me feel? And I couldn't answer them.
Jayne, a lot of people don't know how to come back from a fall after being fired. You know how to pivot. You know how to pivot, Jayne. Talk to us about how to pivot. How do you pivot? How do you come back after fall? How do you come back after being at the height of your career and falling?
Well, someone told me just the other day, you mentioned that pivot word, because somebody said that I should teach a master class
really should.
in strategic pivoting.
And how to come back.
And how to come back,
Yeah.
yes. And, it's been a long journey. But, being on the CBS NFL Today, of course, that was high profile. And especially when they ended up putting it in the Smithsonian Museum of African American History and Culture. And they've got this big wall in the Oprah Winfrey wing, and it's talking television and media landscape pioneers. And here I am with Don Cornelius, the Supremes, Nichelle Nichols, Diane Carroll,
Yeah.
and Nat King Cole next to me. And guess what photo they used for the exhibit? Me on the desk of the NFL Today.
Wow.
In the museum.
And that's the
But
one that's in Washington, D.C.?
in Washington, D.C., yes.
Wow.
Yes, and I cried again.
Man, you got a right to cry.
But, the way that you come back is that you never stop believing in yourself. I hurt a lot. I healed a lot for a lot of different reasons. Life was very difficult. Nobody knew that. Nobody even knew. Everybody said, oh, we know Jayne. They write stories about me and tell these stories on magazines and on television shows. And so many are inaccurate. And when I decided that I was going to write my memoir, it was because I wanted to tell my story in my own words. And then when Audible came at the very end of it and said, we want you to record it. And I'm going, now I'm going to hear it in my own voice. And that just blew me away. That was like the ultimate gratuity of being able to finally tell my own side of the story in my own words with my voice, because I felt that voice had been taken away for so long.
Yeah.
And it hurt a lot. It hurt a lot.
can
But
imagine.
I found a way because I never quit. I went to visit my dad at his gravesite. He loves his coffee, so I would always take a cup of coffee and I'd spill it on the grave, and I sat there and I told him everything that I was doing. This was years later after the NFL Today. And when I finished, I just sat back. It was a beautiful October day. The wind was blowing, and I was just enjoying the breeze, you know. And I heard my dad yelling, "What the hell are you waiting for?" I've always given you everything that you need. Wow. Just do it.
Just do it.
And I got up and I just said, you know what? I'm going to just go and all the things that I've wanted to do, I'm going to start, and I'm going to do this now. I'm going to resurrect. I'm going to come back with my career. And it's been a struggle. I went to 43 publishers before I ended up with Disney for playing Jayne. But I never quit. And that's, I think, the message that I would like to leave behind is to never, ever, 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 ever quit. There are so many people that are going to tell you no. Believe me, I've heard them. I've heard them for ridiculous reasons. I had a man who was a producer at one of the major studios, Warner Brothers Studios. And he said he had a woman come in and he was so infatuated with her, and it was Debbie Allen.
Wow.
He was so infatuated with her beauty that he did not even hear what she had to say. And she was pitching him a movie that she wanted to do.
And he was looking at the beauty.
And he's looking at her
and not
instead
even
of
paying
listening.
attention to what she was saying.
And then the other producer, very next week, I was talking to someone, he said, there's a reason why we don't put blacks in cameras. And this is back in the 70s. So there's a reason why we don't put blacks on camera. It's because when we have a storyline going and a black man walks across the scene, the audience forgets all about the storyline and they're just looking at that one person. And then they've lost the interest in the movie. I said, that's the most asinine thing I've ever heard. So we've had to struggle and fight on so many levels, you know, that people don't know about. All these stories, sexism in the industry. There was a guy that was determined that he was going to ruin my career because I wouldn't sleep with him, a director, a very notable director. And he was doing a movie that everybody wanted, the role, the female lead. And he even came to the studio when I was auditioning for another show, and he went to the director's office and told them, don't hire Jayne because she's a hoe. She does this and this and this. When she was in the Philippines, she slept with everybody there. And the director came right over to my room, and he said, Jayne, this guy was just here. He said, don't worry. He said, because I know you, and that is not you. And I just want you to know that you are safe here.
Well, see,
and
Jayne,
you will always have a job
Jayne,
here.
see, you was the finest woman in the business back then, and sexism was a big, big issue, especially for black women.
It was.
How did you deal with that?
It was not easy.
I mean, you were fine. Oh, my God, Jayne, come on. You know what I'm saying? How did you handle that?
I think it helped to have a husband who was also in the industry, but, you know, sometimes that didn't help either. Because,
You're talking about Leon.
Yeah.
Now, that was my guy. See, Leon was the DJ in Cleveland, and I was the DJ in Michigan. He was a super good radio announcer.
Yes, he was.
You and he were a team. In fact, on Jet Magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Cover.
Many times.
Many times.
Many times, yeah.
So here you are at the top of your career. Your husband, Leon, at the top of his career, one of the leading radio announcers in Cleveland, and here's somebody won't sleep with you. How you handle that?
Well, they don't respect you.
They don't respect you at all.
They don't respect you, and you know. Then, but this guy, he came up. Leon and I went to an event, and the same guy that I was talking about before, the director, he came up to Leon and he said to him, "You know, your wife would have had this role if she'd slept with me instead of you."
Oh man, I know Leon.
But that, you know, that's the way people were. That's the way people were, and it's a hard business because you want to do the work. You desperately want to do the work because the work was stretched so far and few between. And so how are you going to be able to navigate holding your ground and still maintaining respect and dignity when you're faced with all of this ugliness?
Yeah. And not compromise.
Rosalind Cash.
Yeah.
Because she started wearing braids in her hair, and they didn't want that. And so she was working steadily. And she asked me one day, she said, they keep wanting me to flat iron my hair to make it adaptable. Mm-hmm. And I said, like your hair is gorgeous. If I were you, I would just strut in there with your hair just like it is. And the more she strutted, the more jobs she lost.
You're not going to know how to handle this, but I heard that there was a big rift with this other young lady that was a sex symbol in the industry back then by the name of Lola Falana. When you hear that name, what do you think about?
She's wonderful. I loved her. I never heard those rumors.
Had they ever tried to play you against her?
Never. I respected her. And Sammy Davis was one of our mentors.
Yeah.
Sammy Davis would have us over to his house all the time, and to meet the big wheel executives in the business, not the ones that you're just going to casting calls with. But we were invited to his movie nights on every Friday night. We were invited to dinner every Sunday. Lola was often there. We were great friends with him. And Sammy even did a movie with Leon, that producing and directing, and I don't think Sammy even wanted to get paid for it.
Wow. See,
But
you
Sammy
and
and
her
Lola
were
were
the
great.
top two black females during that time. It was amazing back then. It was amazing.
Well, yes, but then you have the industry as well, because there was a job that I was up for, and I had already been cast, and I was supposed to report to the next day, and I got a call that night saying that my services were no longer required the night before, and I would still be paid, but don't show up at the set tomorrow. And come to find out that the role had been given to Lola Falana, and that we both had the same agent.
Wow.
And my agent had done that to me because Lola got more money than I did.
That's what I mean. They try to play us against each other.
Yeah.
Jayne, you got an awesome book here, Plain Jayne.
Thank
This
you.
book is going to be a bestseller for you. It's going to change your life. What's
hope so.
next?
I hope
What's
so.
next for Jayne? What's next?
I have a fragrance line that I've just developed, and I wanted it to release at the same time that the book did, and I was successfully in doing so. It's called Jayne Kennedy Sun and Jayne Kennedy Moon.
Woo!
And and I wanted it to represent me, who I was, not just a fragrance, that was just, oh, that's nice. And so I sat with the fragrance designer, and we came up with all of these things that were who I was. Like the first time I set foot in Africa, and how I felt like roots just sprang from my feet, and I felt like I was finally home. So we have frankincense and myrrh from Africa. We have opals from Africa, because opals are my birthstone. There, you can see them in the fragrance. There's opals floating, and there's 24-karat gold within the fragrance.
How can they get it? How can they get it?
You can go to JayneKennedy.com, and you can pre-order yours now.
Make a promise.
Yes, sir.
Next time you're in South Florida, you'll stop at the Paradise Television Network.
Yes, I will.
You will?
Yes, I will. I promise you.
We'll have it set
It's a
out
pleasure
for Jayne.
to see you again.
Jayne, let me tell you, I love you, and you can't do nothing about it.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
having me.
Jayne.
My
Jayne
pleasure.
Kennedy, making an impact, a trailblazer on WDFL, the Paradise Television Network. We'll see you next month.